Right. Well, welcome everybody to Permethos TV presentations. This will be episode 6. We're here with Heather Grove. Heather, after interning with the USDA, researching food systems in Central Florida and abroad, she returned to her hometown to help rebuild Orlando's local food system in 2011. Heather co-created Stetson University's Garden and Farmers Market and served as the founding community director of Eastern End Market. She now works on sustainable agriculture and rural development projects abroad while helping to establish new branches of fleet farming around the world. And today she's going to be talking to us about what exactly fleet farming is. So welcome, Heather, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk with you all and to hear all of your questions soon. But first, I just explain a little bit about myself and then we'll get into fleet farming. So my name's Heather Grove, and currently I'm in Bali working at a yoga retreat center and working in their garden, bringing it back to life. But meanwhile, I'm starting and helping consult new branches of fleet farming throughout the world. We just started, we're a very young organization. We started 2.5 years ago, and we're already in 3 parts of the world: Africa, Oakland, California, and Orlando, Florida, our founding chapter. And so now that we're branching out, I'm just excited to share all of this news and how the program works with you all. Maybe 1 or 2 of you will be interested in bringing it to your hometown. So I can go ahead and start the webinar or the PowerPoint. So I'll bring that up. So just to let you all know, if you have any more questions afterwards or you're looking for more links and websites, we're at Fleet Farming on Instagram, Facebook, and then fleetfarming.com is our website that you can check out while I'm sitting here chatting up and everything. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about how our program works in terms of permaculture principles, because that's what most of you all are probably interested in. And so thinking about permaculture in terms of your community and farming on a distributed agriculture model, instead of just having one plot of land where you have your shelter and food, water source, blah, 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 we're working with a lot of different resources with sometimes up to, a 3 to 5 mile radius to create one agricultural food system. So I'll cover a little bit of that, but while I'm covering the whole ins and outs of how fleet farming works. So the idea of fleet farming came up 2.5 years ago during an event called The Hive. And The Hive, this is a picture of that exact day and time. The Hive is run by a group, they're an international nonprofit environmental organization called Ideas for Us. And they have a website as well. You can check out ideasforus.org. And their organization is based on creating environmental solutions on 5 pillars: energy, waste, water, ecology, and food. So during The Hive, it's once a month. It's hosted all over the world by over 100 of their chapters. They really sit down and brainstorm solutions to one of these environmental issues. They'll pick a targeted issue, and we were talking about the CO2 emissions related to farming. How do we eliminate and reduce those emissions? And so the owner of East End Market, where I was currently the community director, he had this idea for fleet farming. It would be a bike-powered urban farming model where homeowners would donate portions of their lawn, and then a group of volunteers, swarm riders, would go around and harvest that produce and sell it at local markets and to local chefs. And so all of the ideas were kind of based on solving these issues that, we all know that, our food travels about 1,500 miles on average. The average meal, travels that far just for distribution. And then 33% of our global climate change is attributed to our food production system. And then on top of that, on top of all the issues just related to food production, we also have this adjacent issue with all of our lawns and, all the waste that's produced through having green lawns. So, I was surprised to find that lawns are the largest irrigated crop in the US, if you want to call them that. In the US, we use 9 billion gallons of water per day just for irrigation. The typical lawn, which there's a lot of in Orlando, sucks up about 10,000 gallons of water, so not rainwater, extra irrigated water annually. In 2009, the US spent about $20 billion on lawn care. And this was just to put it in perspective, 800 million gallons of gasoline is burned per year by maintaining our lawns. And then an additional 17 million gallons is spilled just by trying to refill our mowers and blowers and weed whackers and all of that. But to put it into perspective, 10.8 million gallons were spilled during the Exxon Valdez. So quite a bit of gasoline that we're using just to take care of a wasteful lawn. So this idea of fleet farming was to solve a lot of these issues. And so the idea would be that homeowners would donate their portion of their lawn. Depending on where you are, sometimes there can be issues. And in our toolkit, which I'll talk about later, we've discussed how you can work with your local municipality to make it legal if it isn't already, and to clarify the code so that way you can farm in front yards. So we'll set up home gardens, use pedal power to bring fresh produce to local venues. So as I mentioned, we started back in 2014. We grew for one season on 3 lawns, and we quickly realized that if we scaled this up to 10, and 15, 20, it could definitely be a profitable model. So we went to our first market in October 2014 with probably about 20 pounds of greens. And now we're producing at our Orlando chapter probably about 40 to 60 pounds of salad greens, plus any other additional vegetables and flowers, fruits per week. And we're currently on 15 plots in Orlando. So 15 yards, we've transitioned to Farmlettes. And we also have, and those 15 Farmlettes equates to about 6,000, 7,000 square feet. So it's a very small area, less than a quarter of an acre, but still very, very productive. We also have 3 branches. And over those 3 branches, they're also producing more fruit and vegetables. So we have Oakland, California, and then we also have Kampala, Uganda. And we've engaged and trained over 125 volunteers. That's just in the Orlando area. And yeah, we've sold over $10,000 in produce. And so you're probably wondering at this point, how about, how are they paying their employees just on $10,000 sold? And I'll get into that a little bit later. We also have had over 800 lawns donated, and that has been to a huge surprise to us because we had about 300 donated just 2 to 3 months ago, and then some press picked up on what we were doing, and since then we've had lawns all over the world, from Australia, Germany, you name it, just people reaching out wanting to donate their lawns. And so we've developed a really big database of these areas. And as we sell toolkits and hear from people wanting to start chapters in their area, we relay all this information and kind of give them the tools to start and reach out to people in their own community that are interested in the program. So the way our farming model works is we base it off of the spin farming model, which is small plot intensive, which is usually based on a 2-foot by 25-foot long bed. And you're growing high value crops that you can cut and come again. So things like salad greens, where instead of letting it go to a full head and waiting 2 to 3 months for it to be ready to harvest, you can plant very densely, harvest it with the auto harvester that we have, I can show a picture of later. And then you can come back through, it's ready to harvest within 2 weeks, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks. You can cut it. Next week, it's ready to harvest again and again and again as small salad greens. And those small salad greens many times fetch a lot more at the market than does a head of lettuce, or per pound. So that's kind of the model that we base fleet farming off of, growing high value crops. But we soon realized that not all lawns are exactly 25 foot or by 2 foot, or, we can't really fit these numbers into every space as we wish. So also we want to make it really aesthetically pleasing, because these are people's front yards. And, sometimes people don't just want a big rectangular plot plopped down in their front yard. So we've created some plots that are more curved and linear to fit any decline, incline to catch water, anything like that. So we've really adapted the spin model to meet our needs, and then also incorporated this whole bike power aspect. So up at the top picture, you can see that was our first ever swarm ride. And to learn about how the swarm ride works, we twice a month welcome all volunteers out, and we usually visit 4 to 5 of our farmlets. And as the volunteers harvest, we teach them all the aspects of gardening and how the program works and how to farm. So trading for 2 to 3 hours of their time, they're learning how to garden. But the rest of the week, all of the maintenance and play program coordination, that is all done by 3 paid staff members. We have our program coordinator in Orlando, we have our farm manager, and our garden installer. And I'll talk about those in more detail later. So down at the bottom too, you can see this is the final product of our greens. We package them up, unfortunately in plastic bags, because that's what the Department of Ag requires us to do. But we would love to find an alternative to reusable bags eventually. I've heard about some cellophane that's actually made from plant cellulose. But they're ridiculously expensive bags. So we're working on it. And if you guys have any ideas or suggestions, I'd love to hear about that. When we sell to our chefs, we always use reusable bins. So that's a great option. We always get them back. We don't have to worry about any plastic being used there. So the process of building out a farmlet, of course, we always make sure that our homeowners, they sign an agreement that's for 3 years. We make sure that a minimum of 3 years. We make sure that they have suspect chemicals, fertilizers, anything like that over the past 5 years. And we solarize. So we have to kill out the grass many times. It's a pain, and we have to come and solarize again and again. But it should only take about 3 weeks in the summer. So we solarize, till for the first time. We prefer not to till ever again. We're trying to slowly get there, but sometimes after a really rainy summer and if weeds take over, we have to come and till again. So we'll till. And then in Florida, Orlando, we have access to an amazing resource of mushroom compost, and we'll use that as our medium for growing. And we'll bring that in on top. Usually it takes about 1.5 to 1 truckloads, truck bed loads. So we'll bring that in. And then after we've built up our rows, we'll come in and plant. And we install irrigation. It's a drip irrigation system that's run on a timer. So each home has this timer. The homeowner doesn't have to do anything, but in trading for allowing us to use their lawn, they're able to go and harvest about 5 to 10% of whatever we're growing per week. So the water cost as well from irrigation usually is only about $1 a month on a plot like this that's about anywhere from 500 to 1,000 square feet. It doesn't ever get over $2 a month in Orlando. The cost of water, unfortunately, is very cheap. Currently we're using that system. I would love for us to be able to use rainwater catchment at each site. It would just require a lot more maintenance, and at this point, we're not there yet. So at this site, however, there is water catchment. So yeah, this is also a picture that shows our harvester. And I don't know if a lot of you have seen this. It was previously sold on Johnny Seeds. I don't believe it's sold there anymore. But it's drill powered, so it's all electric. And there's a blade that rotates back and forth at the bottom by the spinning rod. And then the ropes catch all of the greens as it's being cut and catch them in a basket in the back that we then empty. So it really speeds up harvesting. Usually harvesting a row like that by myself with scissors or a knife would take about 15 to 20 minutes, and this takes about 2 minutes. So this is a picture of our Oakland chapter's bike and trailer setup. Ours looks a little bit different in Orlando, so it can be done many different ways, but this is one of their harvests headed out to local chefs. And then, like I mentioned, rides are, how we get a lot of our maintenance and work done. And this is in Orlando, one of our latest groups that came out. So you can imagine that many people and that many hands, you can get a lot done. Again, here's some of our plots. This is one up at the top right, shows how, we can make it curved. Really just play with the different setups of the farmlets, just depending on what looks best, what fits best. Sometimes we really have to consider the sunlight. So in this picture back here, this curved area of her lawn really was the best place. It was outside of the radius of a tree, so it got most sun. It was actually closer to the water. All those different things you have to take into consideration. Down in this picture, you can see the trailer that we have in Orlando. It's a lot more heavy, pretty heavy compared to the one in Oakland, but I like it better because it actually pushes you along once you build up the momentum. Then we have all different types of greens, everything from arugula. We grow red oak leaf, mizuna, quite a big variety. And now, this doesn't really show it in these pictures, but we're growing a much bigger variety of fruits and vegetables, anything from tomatoes, carrots, and a lot of herbs, because we found after a couple years of growing, the aphids figured out what we were up to. And so we're battling them with a whole bunch of different herbs and other beneficial bug plants. So we have found that, we're making quite a bit of money just through our day-to-day sales at the farmers market and just local chefs. But a great way to kind of augment and bring in supplemental income is through garden installations that we can put in, brush our hands, we're done, and walk away. And then the homeowners, we leave with all the information on how to garden and grow throughout the rest of the seasons. So we've started this program just within the last few months, and it's really helping to grow our program in terms of income. So this is just a couple of pictures of the installations that we've done throughout Orlando. These beds are a little bit shorter, so we're doubling them up, sometimes quadrupling them up in height for certain crops that might need a little bit more root room. And so today in Orlando, we have 15 farmlets established. We're hoping to have 20 by January. And those all are really within a 3-mile radius. And within Orlando itself, we've had interest from a lot of areas outside of our 3-mile radius. So we're hoping to start additional chapters all throughout Central Florida. We also have 25 trees, and I'll explain about our fruit tree program in a little bit. And we've hosted now that number has gone up probably to about 40 swarm rides since we've started. We have over 40 different varieties of plants growing. And we've worked a lot with our local university, Rollins College, Valencia College, a couple of schools, to help us work on some studies and research, as we've grown, what numbers would look like if we were to try to feed all of Orlando with this type of program. And that's been really inspiring to see that, it could work eventually. if we had enough willing people that are willing to get out there and farm and get in the dirt. We've had over 500 unique customers at our farmers markets. 4 the studies by Rollins, I mentioned 35 articles, 10 interviews, blah, blah, blah. And so I mentioned all of that, on our Facebook and press, just to say that it's proving to actually be a very successful model. And I think a lot of people are catching on. And so, reading through some of the comments that I see on Facebook about, oh my gosh, why would anybody pay to have a farmlet? Because we do charge our homeowners about $300 a year just to start the farmlet. And, that cost it's just, you have to see it like a CSA. They're getting, 5 to 10% of the vegetables per week. Sometimes those greens, can be range up to like $20 per week. So they're definitely getting their value's worth, I think, if they actually go out and harvest. Just they're getting the value back in terms of the food that's grown. But also they're learning how to farm. Many of them just, have never gardened before. So whenever we're out there, they're always welcome to come out and learn. And so just all this to say that, it's proven to be successful. This is just a quick snapshot of all of the lawns that have been donated in the Central Florida area over the last 2.5 years. You can't even see the dark green dots. The dark green dots in this image are the ones that are established farmlets, but they're way down at the bottom now. And this is one of the studies that was done by Rollins College that I mentioned about if we were to try to feed all of Winter Park, which is the city surrounding where we are, our current production right now, we're feeding about 0.14% of the city. But if we wanted to get up to feeding 20% of the population of our city, that would feed about 5,600 people per week. We would produce about 3,248 pounds per week. And this is what it would take. It would take about $350,000 in startup funds just to build out the plots, about 6,160 hours of labor to go and establish them. That wouldn't be required every week, but just to build them out. And it would take about 518,000 square feet. So that's been a really fun thing to keep us going, help us set our goals and stay inspired. So another aspect of fleet farming, another source of income, is fleet fruits. We really love our alliteration. So if you guys have any other words that start with F that we can incorporate into the program, let me know. So fleet fruits is really fun. Another thing that we kept seeing throughout our community, and this is not the first, we aren't the first ones to think of this. There's amazing gleaning programs throughout Washington, Oregon, that do something similar. But in our own community, nothing was being done with a lot of fruit. And especially in Orlando, I think there's a picture here. If you can peer in, maybe squint, you can see a lot of little dots in this picture. This is a screenshot from back, I think, in like the 40s, 50s, of maybe 60s, of the area that we're now working in, growing in. And all these little dots in this image are from our citrus industry in Florida. And those are all orange trees. And so you can see the development is starting. Houses are being built, but all those citrus trees are filling backyards and front yards still. And fortunately, that's actually still the case. And citrus greening has, they've, remained unscathed from some of the citrus greening. So, all these trees, whether it's grapefruit, oranges, limes, lemons, they just drop fruit. They attract pests, rodents, and kind of become a nuisance. Sometimes, a lot of times homeowners are told they need to cut them down to prevent the spreading of citrus greening. And so through Fleet Fruits, homeowners can register their trees. And now we have a volunteer coordinator for this program, and she'll go around and we harvest on a schedule, and we're able to sell those and donate any extra fruits to certain kitchens and homeless centers as we harvest. So that's been a really cool addition to the program as well. And it's also multi-pillared. We're also trying to increase access to fresh fruits. It's something that we don't really see that often, and especially for being in a tropical climate, it's something that we should be providing more of at our markets, especially ones that are organic, not being treated, and preventing food waste, because we waste about 40% of our food in the US right now. So yeah, people donate their tree, we glean the excess fruit, and try to reduce waste all while we're doing that. We also offer education, obviously through our swarm rides that we host twice a month, also to our homeowners and farmlet hosts. And then any schools, we have the Boy Scouts coming out now, Girl Scouts, all different types of groups. Lululemon, which is a yoga apparel wear group, they'll come out every once in a while. And so through all of these classes and things that we're doing, this gets back to why we are a nonprofit and to our main mission and goal, and that's to educate people on how to grow in their own yards. And so, I think it's funny when you consider all the different models of farming, but especially comparing it to community gardens, because community gardens can be very limiting to the number of plots available. It can also be very helpful in terms of people that don't have lawns or any type of growing space at all. But what I love about fleet farming is that we are a lot, everyone community is able to come out and meet each other and make new friends, and learn how to grow together. And you don't have to have a lawn still to join the swarm ride. And all the volunteers that come out are able to get half off a bag of greens at the next farmer's market. So it's a great benefit for them to come out as well. And so it's really, I think the most beautiful part and unexpected part of fleet farming has been this sense of community that we've developed in the Garden District of Orlando. And so, we also, let's see, here's just more pictures of some of the education that we've been doing around town, our Veg Fest. Let's see, all different types of groups that have come out. And so, we now are beginning branches, as I mentioned previously, all over. And this is our group in Kampala, Uganda. And you can see Matovu here. He's our branch leader, and he's also been leading a branch of Ideas for Us. And so Ideas for Us has over 100 chapters all over the world. And we're using these branches as a base to kind of start the program. If they see fleet farming as a viable option for their community, the toolkit's there for them to use. If you're just, looking around your own community and thinking, I think fleet farming would work here, but you don't want to start a total, environmental organization and a branch of Ideas for Us, you can just start fleet farming. And so Ideas for Us has all different types of solutions available, not just fleet farming. They have different water projects that you can do to plant filtering plants and all different types of solutions, solar, whatever. But fleet farming is like the main solution to food issues that they focus on. So in our toolkit, we cover how to organize, obviously, and assemble your team, because I really wouldn't advise trying to start fleet farming alone. It's taken a really strong team of 3 to 4 committed individuals over the last 2.5 years to get it to where it is. And how to grow, the process of actually establishing the farmlets, the process of establishing those, the toolkit comes with all the agreements and waivers. Every volunteer that comes out has to sign a waiver. All of our homeowners sign waivers in addition to an agreement. So this toolkit has all of these forms that you can easily adapt to your own location. It has all of the methods for distribution, which we're now on a expedition throughout the US. Our chapter leader from Oakland, California, Justin Vandenbroek, is a part of something called the Millennial Train Project. And through the Millennial Train Project, he is stopping to 5 cities throughout the US to have hives, which is what I mentioned earlier, how fleet farming came about, to have these think tank sessions to consider some of the challenges and opportunities that might be in other cities. So in Orlando, we're lucky enough because we have a law passed that up to 60% of your front yard can be a vegetable garden, but I know a lot of other cities can't. So things like this we're starting to consider, and we'll be readapting our toolkit, and it'll be back up September 1st for purchase with a whole bunch of new amendments. So if you're looking to buy it, I advise waiting until September 1st, and we'll have it back up and fresh, ready, whole new version of it. So yeah, there's also, it mentions quite a few options of different outlets, and which are already starting to take shape through our new branches. In Orlando, as I mentioned, we sell direct to a farmer's market and then to chefs. In Oakland, California, they are a little bit different because they actually started by growing most of their food at a CSA, at a community garden plot. And at that community garden, there was a cafe. And so they would just trade space in the garden for selling at the cafe. And then also we can trade time processing. So I really didn't get into the processing here. But if you're going by the rules and playing by the rules, you have to have your Department of Ag processing permit. And that can run about, I think it's about $200 to $500 a year, depending on the quantity and how many places you're processing in. So that's probably our largest expense throughout the year, other than compost. And we're also making our own compost. I forgot to mention, each host gets their own compost bin. So that eases up the transport of weeds and any type of organic waste for us, and also localizes the compost that we use at their site to each home. So that's really helpful. But in Oakland, their processing is a little bit different. So when it comes time to cut, wash, and bag all of their greens, they use the cafe at their community garden and trade time there in exchange for greens. And then anything extra they sell to local chefs. We, however, don't have that opportunity to trade. So we, in exchange, rent time at an incubator kitchen in town at Easton Market. And we trade also in services for maintaining the community garden that they have, or their market garden. So there's many different ways that you could look at it. I think in the future, restaurants, chefs that want greens maybe could allow you to use their kitchen for a few hours in the off hours to process and bag. There's many different ways you could go about it. And then we talk about, all the logistics of marketing, documenting all of your farming, harvesting, how to publicize, socialize, all that kind of good stuff on social media. And then the operations, roles and responsibilities of your team. There's many different options there. And then, there's about 20, actually now there's about 30 pages of documents. So whether it's signage that you need, shirts printed, we have all the designs available, stickers, those are the fun things. But then, we have all of our spreadsheets on how to record sales, record harvests, crop plan. That's all a part of it as well. So, that's about it for the presentation. So I'm excited to start answering questions and talk with you all. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Heather. Yeah, that was awesome. I'm very excited for fleet farming. I think it's, I look back on the days during the war, they had victory gardens, and very, very popular for people to have gardens in their yards, and that's gone away. And I think it'd be great if we could bring something like that back into place, obviously without having to have a war to do it. So I think this is one of those methods in getting that to happen. So I have a couple of questions for you. How do you market to these lawn owners? Are you looking for only volunteers, or just beginning with that, or is there a method of incentivizing them with profit? Besides, I understand they're getting 5 to 10% of the product. So obviously there's a profit right there for them. But what could you go a little more deeper into that?
Yeah, so we're providing some large. I can hear myself really bad. Let me turn down my volume. Maybe that helps. So we're providing subsidies to some homeowners that, when we're building out our community of farmlets, we really have to take into consideration the proximity to our hub. So, sometimes even though a lawn may seem perfect and it's the perfect size and whatever, it may just be 1 mile too far away for us to go by bike. And so, in that situation, when people are paying, to have the farmlet installed, that can help us a little bit more justify going that extra distance. And so if somebody, though, is closer to our main hub and may not have the most optimal yard, but they're willing to pay the $300 as well, then that can help, subsidize. But if there is a perfect lawn and the homeowner doesn't have the funds, then in that case, we can offer subsidies to those people as well to be able to use their farmlet or their plot. I think in the future, ideally, and when we started the fleet farming concept, it was to profit share, and it was to become a community garden that homeowners would get a cut of all the sales. But the logistics of recording all of that would be a nightmare, especially to make it equitable. And the fact is that the homeowners aren't gardening. They come out and they help if they want. But the beauty of the program is that they don't have to. And, if it was their own lawn and it was grass, they would be paying anyways to have it mowed, maintained, paying for the gas to maintain it, and so, or just taking their own time, twice a week to mow it. So I think that's where the value of fleet farming comes in and where we can justify charging. Obviously, we don't want to charge. We want everybody to have a farmlet. We just want to be able to use the lawns as much as we can. But especially in this startup phase, as we're growing to more plots, to pay urban farmers and to create, which is even more exciting, is that we're able to create demand for an urban farming job in Orlando. I think about it, there's no urban farming job, paid positions in Orlando other than fleet farming. So, there's people trying here and there, starting things, but to have something to have a job that is funded by the sale of our produce is like the most exciting thing in the world to me. And so we have a couple grants that we're relying on here and there, but very small. And within the next couple of years, we won't need those at all. And so really at this stage, that $300 a month coming from the homeowners is helping not just create a farmlet in their own yard, but launch an international program. And so I think that's where a lot of these people are coming from and seeing the value in that they're not just, supporting this veggie plot in their front yard. They're helping spread this idea and this program all over. And so, so that's kind of, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's exciting to see so many people interested in doing it and so many people volunteering their lawns for it. That's very exciting to see. And I think that you nailed it on the head, is that a lot of people, most people would love to have a garden. They just don't want to do it themselves. And so by providing that to them is a huge benefit. Just because if anything, they're going to feel a lot better about what they have, and it's a lot less work to maintain. So yeah, I think that's great. And hopefully,
sorry, go ahead.
Hopefully it'll get to the point where you're so successful that others will enter the market and you'll have competition.
Exactly. Yes. And that's the cool thing, you know. So one of the other things I just want to mention in terms of that, we just applied for a grant with the USDA to expand our program to a lower income area of Orlando. And so, you know, there's so many different ways you can go about it. You don't have to charge your homeowners at all. If you happen to have an amazing community partner that's looking to throw money at urban gardening programs, you know, like, you don't have to apply for grants. You don't have to charge your homeowners at all. I think there's so many different ways to go about this. And especially if you're in a low income area, there's so many grants out there right now to start urban gardens. That can be your startup funding. And the moment you have, you know, your 15 to 20 plots established, you shouldn't need anything else. You know, should only take about 2 people to keep it going, paid people, and then you have your swarm rides of volunteers that can come out and join you. So, yeah, just to mention, it doesn't have to be that type of model where you're charging the hosts at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, or where this will really explode, is when you end up with those other kind of markets as well. Because right now, there's definitely a huge market that you are tapped into with the people who are conscious of this kind of thing and that want to better the environment and benefit from it at the same time and benefit their local community. And then there's going to be the other markets where they just want to make money. And I'm okay with that. If someone wants to just make money off of it and it's doing all these other things, I'm okay with that if I can find a way to get into that market and incentivize those people. And with the biking is a huge part of the fleet farming. It's a fleet of bikers that are doing this, which is very environmentally conscious. And so before you did, what made you decide to do the biking, and did you look into what the profit or loss would be of doing it with like a gas powered transportation system?
Yeah, so we could do that, but I think for us the main point was accessibility, and you know, how do we expose the community to our farmlets? And, you know, renting a bus every week or having a bus and having to move these people around, or even just doing walking tours. Sometimes our plots are really far apart and it only makes sense to go by bike. So, yeah, the bikes just made sense. Everybody has a bike. If they don't, there's an awesome new program in Orlando, Juice Bike Share, which is, we always start at East End Market, which is where one of our main plots is. And that's where the juice bikes are. They can rent, they can join us. But obviously the main point was that we didn't want any emissions related to fleet farming at all. And we're still working on it here and there. We still have to use, you know, actually our weed whacker's electric, most things electric, yeah. But, you know, on harvest days, we have to use a truck here and there. When we deliver compost, we have to use a truck. So there's definitely some emissions related, but yeah, I mean, the main goal for the bikes was to reduce emissions, get people active. And that's been another thing. Like, I mean, gardening is one thing in the Florida heat, especially in the summer when you're drenched in sweat, but then have to get on a bike. It's actually more exciting to get on the bike because you have the wind hitting your face and you're just like, yeah. So it's kind of nice. But yeah, I think some of the unexpected outcomes have just been getting our community activated. And I've been surprised to actually see that there's a lot of people that don't know how to ride bikes. And so we're looking into partnering up with our local rickshaw community. We have downtown Orlando has a lot of rickshaw drivers. So maybe one day or a couple times a year, we'll have a big event where people can come and just sit back and have somebody drive them around and do like a tour to Farmlettes. I don't know yet. Yeah, so I think that that's pretty much the reasons why we chose to do bikes, and it's worked out really well. When the groups get really big, sometimes we'll have to split up into multiple groups, which is great then because then we can cover more ground. But it's helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Just getting people out on bikes or out in general, out of their house, but especially on bikes, exercising and gardening. It's all at the same time is huge.
Yeah.
Now, so you've got the fleet. They come, they harvest, and then you're taking it to the hub. Now, is this a food hub, or is this a central hub where you're distributing to obviously restaurants, but farmers markets and where else?
Yeah, so in Orlando, we have multiple outlets where we're selling, but our hub for processing is at East End Market, which opened about 4 years ago. It's in the center of our growing area. And I was one of the co-creators there, so I had a lot of ties into the area. But the Easton Market, excuse me, you can read more about it. It's eastendmkt.com. But it's a market hall of 10 individual shops, and then they all share space in an incubator kitchen in the back. So it's an incubator for local food businesses. And, to get to owning your own shop one day, there's a lot of capital involved with that. So these small, scalable little stores are stepping stones for these businesses until they're able to build up. So they all share ovens, sinks, dishwashers, all that in one main kitchen in the back. So in the off hours, Fleet Farming uses that space to process all of our produce. And laws with processing are pretty intricate in Florida, but I can explain it if anybody has any questions. So we use Easton Market as our processing center and our hub for meeting for the swarm rides, for really just our public venue. And then we've hosted a couple fundraisers in the past. We hosted an event that was a film for the screening of the film GMO OMG, had a panel with a great discussion. So it's kind of our main hub. But I think, as we expand to other communities, it can really take shape in so many different ways. That answer your questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Let's see. With the homeowners, what kind of restrictions do you put on the homeowners? You mentioned a 3-year contract. What can they do with the garden or around the garden? What are the restrictions in place?
Yeah, so no spraying of any kind. They can't employ a lawn service whatsoever. They can for mowing, around maybe their backyard or whatever area we aren't using. But no Massey, no companies that are going to come in and spray any type of chemical sprays. So if they do have a company that they use, we just want them to run it by us first, and so that we can double check and call them and see what they're using and really make sure that it's not going to affect the vegetables and fruits. Like I mentioned, they shouldn't have sprayed anything in the previous 5 years in the area that we're growing in. And something that I'm starting to consider too is the surrounding neighbors, because, just because they don't spray doesn't mean their neighbors don't. And, on a windy day, who knows what'll happen. And so we're looking into that and really starting to consider the effects of the neighbors, lawn treatment. Really, the garden is it's open to them as well. If they want to work in it, by all means, they're so welcome to come out and work in it. And restrictions, what else in the agreement? The irrigation is all set on a timer, so they really don't have to worry about watering at all. But if we are unavailable, if we're running short on time or anything with our staff, we can send out a mass email to all of our Farmlet hosts and say, hey, we see that there's going to be rain it's going to be pouring the next 5 days. And on all of our timers, there's a rain delay button, so they can go out and press that for the next 2 to 5 days, whatever they want, whatever we advise them on. So that way we're not irrigating while it's pouring down rain. So really that's like the only thing that we would ask of them here and there. Maybe
I
just
imagine harvest, there's probably a restriction on the harvest.
yeah, and then, just harvesting 5 to 10% and making sure that they know how to harvest. A lot of people have never harvested anything before. So, showing them the first couple times, this is how you cut the greens so that they'll actually grow back and that you won't kill the plants. And then, the flowers and all of that, making sure that they know that they're there for a purpose. And, they make beautiful arrangements, but we need them there to attract the wasps and bees and all the great things that will eat up bad bugs. I don't know.
Okay, so I was under the impression I had was that the fleet would come and do all of the harvest and then give 5 to 10% to the homeowner.
Yeah, it started like that, but trying to coordinate when the homeowner would be home, because our greens have to be refrigerated soon after harvest. We didn't want to leave bags of soggy greens sitting on their front porch forever and have that go to waste. So they can harvest whenever they like. And that way it's even fresher for them. They can harvest per dinner, per salad, whatever. It's all up to the homeowner. Okay. And then we also, as I mentioned, all the volunteers can come to the market and get half off. So in that case, we do harvest and they can come and pick up. I'd love for our volunteers to just be able to cut whatever they want and take it home with them, but we can't ensure that it'll last 3 hours in the hot sun while we're harvesting, and it's better. I'd like to ensure the quality of it and just make sure that they can get a nice mix. And some days, when we're out with the swarm ride, we'll only be harvesting arugula, or we'll just be harvesting one thing. And we sell like 4 to 5 special salad mixes. So we have an Asian mix, which is comprised of like mizuna and a whole bunch of other Asian type greens. Then we have our vibrant mix, which is baby chard and colorful, bright things, red scarlet frills, all these things. So in that case, we need to take it back, process it all, mix it up, and then bring it to market.
Well, I think that's also great for the community with the giving them half off, because you're incentivizing them to come to the farmers market and possibly spend some money with more money with you and with the other vendors at the market. And
the community, because all that money is going to just keep recycling and recycling within the community.
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you track the who's a volunteer and who's not a volunteer?
Most of us, we're a small team, so we always the whole team is always out at the swarm ride. And so we know who was there, because the Monday is the market, Sundays are swarm rides. So it's always the following day and we know who was there.
So the volunteers had to have volunteered that week to get the discount. Right. Okay. That makes sense. Yes. All right. Let's see here. I saw I was just going through that list. You had the organize, grow, processing, distribute, market, and operations. In operations, you had roles and responsibility. Is that based off the holacracy model?
The what?
Holacracy?
I don't know.
I guess not. No. Okay. I was just curious how the roles and responsibilities and operations work, but I guess I'll have to get the kit to find out.
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever worked with Local Orbit or that food hub distribution software programs?
We had multiple new apps reach out to us about these distribution solutions. Our app will solve everything, and I don't know if any of these apps are what we need. I think there's one guy that we're working with right now, Jeremy from New York. He's starting an app that will be meant as a solution for growers. And I think that urban farmers need more types of apps like this. I think most of these distribution apps that are coming out right now are more meant for the consumer. They're meant to get them their bag of greens in 5 minutes and, just press this button and you'll have your local apples delivered by the farmer in 5 minutes. And so far, I haven't found any of these apps to be helpful at all in terms of simplifying the job for the farmer. if anything, it's more tracking. It's more being attached to a phone. It's more of a nightmare than anything. I think that there's a place for these apps, and I think that's for distributors. And I think, a farmer's job is to be a farmer, and distributing to farmers markets and chefs is another job in and of itself. And to then have an app, this is just my opinion, it's a lot of work. And so this app that I'm now interested in, it's a map-based app that allows you to coordinate between your farmers and employees based on each plot. So it's meant for distributed ag models, just like fleet farming. You create different zones, different layers, and then you can send out something called waves. So as you want to update a plot, maybe you say, oh, this plot really needs to be weeded. This one needs its transplants in row 5, whatever. You can update as you're there. You can also see the location of all your employees or volunteers. You can make this app accessible to anyone, so that maybe some random person wants to volunteer on their lunch hour. They're really close to a plot. They can pull up the app and say, oh, this is the task list that needs to be done at this plot. I would love to help out, I'll just check out the directions, how to do it, and done. I think this app has a lot more use to us than do a lot of the distribution ones that we've come across. There is an app, however, that's being used. I think it was started in Seattle. I wish I could remember the name right now. A lot of people are starting to use it. It's a great platform for localizing distribution. And so I think there's a group, they have an online farmers market in Jacksonville, Florida. Totally forgetting the name right now. I think it's Red something. It's amazing. It's an amazing tool, and I think it'll be great for communities all over. But in terms of, using that as a farmer, not so sure.
All right. And is part of your distribution to grocery stores, local grocery stores?
We do distribute to one local produce shop. It's called Local Roots, and they're located within Easton Market. So it makes it really easy for us to just, on our way out the door, drop off their weekly order. We also distribute to the farmers market, but no groceries, nothing on a large scale yet, because like I said, we're only producing about 50 to 60 pounds per week, and we don't produce in the summer. We do produce things, but we're not growing through the summer. It's impossible. So unless people wanted things like, some really hardy greens, and I don't think people going to the grocery store want Okinawa spinach and Malabar spinach and things like that. So until we get there, no, not yet, because we don't have the consistency that they would need. Then that's always a game that you're going to play, is having the consistency. And if you are working with a distributor, making sure that you have available what you're listing every week. And that we originally started working with a distributor and had to stop, because you can say that you're going to have something available, but if it's pouring down rain and you don't have time to harvest it, then you're not going to have it available. And most chefs that are ordering through local food distributors like that are very understanding, and that's a part of the risk they take, and working with small farmers. But yeah, we wanted to be more reliable, so we decided to stop that a couple months ago.
Good. That's great. Okay. Compost. You had mentioned buying compost, or do you also make your own compost on certain sites?
We do both. We do, so we order, when we start new plots, we order these big dump truckloads of mushroom compost from a mushroom farm in Selwood, Florida. And we get that delivered somewhere, and then we'll take it by smaller truck bed load to each plot. And it's very inexpensive. It's a great medium. We really love it. Tons of mycelium and lovely things inside, microorganisms. So especially in Orlando, the soil is just sand. There's very, very little organic matter. So it's a great resource for us. And then at each site, each homeowner gets their own composter. And that is actually in partnership with the City of Orlando. The City of Orlando gives out composters to anyone for free. They're like $120 composters. They're really beautiful, nice, the black ones that you can open from the bottom, and all you do is just throw in your stuff through the top. So we help each homeowner apply for that, get it, and then as we're on site, we always throw all of our gardening waste into that. And so it just helps us, you know, in terms of bringing fresh compost to each plot. And then the homeowner is also helping us with build the compost by throwing in their food scraps. So it's a great win-win.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Heather. If we want to find more information, where do we go? How do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website. It's fleetfarming.com. There's also our Facebook. We're on Instagram at Fleet Farming. Personally, I'm starting my website. It's bornharvester.com. I'm on Instagram, currently traveling around a bit, so you can see what I'm up to growing in Bali. And and then consulting while I'm here and abroad. So as you're interested in starting a chapter, feel free to reach out to me directly or to Fleet Farming. But if you have any questions specifically about starting a branch, reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to help you all.
All right, thank you very much, guys. It's fleet farming is that whole model, I think, is very important to our future, and I'm very excited to have people like Heather doing that and conquering what is needed in our cities and around the country. Awesome. Next week we have Frank Goldbeck joining us. Frank is the co-founder of and head mead maker for their Gold Coast mead. So we're excited to have them. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you once again, Heather, for joining us. I hope you all have a great week.
Thank you so much.